The halfway point of the 2023 season, as competitive and volatile as any year we can remember, 12 seeds like the Lakers and Raptors simply cannot be ruled out given the loaded talent of today's stars. A combination of chemistry, consistency, and talent is what's gonna separate the contenders from the pretenders to the surrenders. A handful of teams already going for the Victor sweepstakes, an opportunity of a lifetime should the ping pong balls come their way. Of course, a bunch of solid NBA vets still good enough to produce and play crucial minutes that has a chance at a title. If those vets remain with their same crappy teams, it will be all empty numbers, lots of losing. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. The useful role players who can help good teams right now, starting with the most obvious, Bojan Bogdanovic of the Detroit Pistons, the most unwatchable team in the league. No excitement with Cade Cunningham out for the season. The 33-year-old forward, one of the most underrated scorers in the game, numbers of 21 points through 42 games, and efficient 49% from the field, 42 from deep, makes many teams clutching for the 6'7" wing who can play both the 3 and 4. The former second rounder been in plenty of big playoff moments with the Pacers and Jazz, put up around 18 points, 36 minutes played, 40.5% from deep last 3 postseasons, a 21 game sample size. After Utah decided to part ways with Gobert and Mitchell, Bogey just a trade piece for Kelly Olynyk to one of the very worst teams, making $19.5 million on the year and $39 million total the next 2. The type of guy who can go off and be the best scorer on a solid team here and there. The 2 times he scored 30 plus, Detroit won, netting 27 points or more. The Pistons 5-1. Not good for helping the team win a few extra unnecessary games if they want to tank. Of course, the Lakers interested, but who realistically would the Pistons want in return? While Bogdanovic's shooting and ability to score on his own would be a match made in heaven for the heavy ISO Luka Doncic Mavs, the problem is his price. Not cheap by any means. Dallas 2027 first with a player like Davis Bertans would be what the franchise should do in a heartbeat if Detroit's not asking for more. Perhaps a team like Cleveland with added shooting. A guy like Bogdanovic would make them the most complete starting lineup if they give up Caris LeVert, but LeVert's contract expiring, or the desperate Phoenix Suns team if they give up Cam Johnson, Crowder, and a first, more than necessary. Milwaukee also a team in recent talks if they can give up Grayson Allen and others perhaps. Saddiq Bey, the 23-year-old, not having as good as year 2 when he averaged over 16 a game. A team with nobody great on the roster. Base numbers of under 14 points on 40% shooting, just 33 from 3, not as appealing. His biggest strength being a catch and shoot guy, drives with Cade, but after Cunningham went down, Coach Casey doesn't run anything for the 3rd-year forward. Of course, a team like the Lakers or Mavs would be interested, surrounding their ball-dominant superstars with a shooter, but not a great defender. Base value somewhat diminished compared to this time last season, not looking like Detroit would give him a big extension given his down season. An okay player, but is it okay enough to give him north of $70 million? Highly doubtful. Could be useful on a team like Miami, who also shown interest. Alec Burks, the 31-year-old, quietly in season 12, played for 7 different teams, shall be on his 8th soon. Off the bench, numbers of 14 a game, over 44 from deep in 4.5 attempts, making around $10 million. More useful than many of the 3 and no D heavy money makers, despite not having a ton of postseason experience, can have one of those insane scoring games like game 1 of the Hawks-Knicks 2021 series. Burks single-handedly kept New York in position to win and had his heat check Jordan-esque moment. 27 points on 9 of 13 shooting, going toe-to-toe with Trae Young before Atlanta had the last laugh. Having one of these outbursts for a contender might just be enough to help them get over the edge. Boston turned down New York's offer for Burks. I'd be surprised if Burks remains with the Pistons after 2023. Eric Gordon of the Houston Rockets. It's an absolute travesty. He's still stuck with the franchise. More than frustrated enough. Reminds me of being in a Kevin Love 2020 situation with Cleveland. Citing no improvement. Unhappy, rightfully so. The young unpolished ISO guys. The team far away from playing winning basketball.
Are you seeing the improvement that you thought you would see when the season started?
There's no improvement.
34 years old, doesn't have much time left as a productive player, proved to be a great compliment for James Harden. Made 4 postseason stints together. EG averaged over 17 a game the 2019 and 2020 playoffs. If he averages even 9 a game, hit a couple momentum swinging threes, he'll have already done his job. And after Darth on that team, but making over 19 mil, when Alec Burks getting half while being equally as productive, Gordon nearly 21 mil for 2024, non-guaranteed, a failed 3-team trade In November with Houston, Phoenix, and Milwaukee, and a Crowder to the Bucks and EG to the Suns exchange probably would have been a nice option for both parties. Ongoing conflicts with the Rockets, of course, him being linked to the Lakers, but who does Houston want to benefit them? At some point between now to the deadline, anytime's a great time to trade Gordon, even if it was to a team like the Knicks that actually shown some interest, but giving up Obi Toppin has lots of risks. Jakob Poeltl of the San Antonio Spurs, now in his prime, the 27-year-old center could easily be putting up 15 and 11 for the worst team in the league, but his numbers a little down for obvious reasons, proving to be a 13 and 9 guy as a starter, making $9 million on the season before hitting free agency. Good interior defense, underrated playmaking, a team in some discussions recently included Golden State and Toronto. Of course, Brooklyn and Dallas very awful in securing the glass. Both undersized with no true big. Poeltl protecting the paint and getting boards, absolutely vital in the playoffs. If the Nets don't give up the key players and somehow land the 7-1 center, it'll likely make them title favorites. Boston also a team of interest early on when Robert Williams went out. The Bulls also a team in talks trying to get rid of the expiring Vucevic. Some games Poeltl don't even play for the Spurs. The franchise trying to trade him before the deadline. Doug McDermott, been under the radar, played for many bad teams throughout his career. The 31-year-old already in year 9, a finished product at this point, double-digit scorer, 10 a game off the bench, 20 minutes, a career 41% outside shooter, making under $14 million right now and in 2024. His name also linked to the Lakers radar. Who isn't anyway? Just as a three-point shooter, involved in the Russ Westbrook deal earlier. That one didn't work out. McDermott, a player who lacks playoff appearances, being on more terrible teams won't bring his name more relevancy. A type of guy who can go off in a couple playoff games as an X-Factor, can be giving a nice contract after his deal ends. Kyle Kuzma, the so-called trio of Bradley Beal, Kuz, and Porzingis simply isn't working, and there's plenty of games to prove that. Instead of being in an awful small market team that hasn't even won 50 games since before Udonis Haslem was even born, Kuzma absolutely doesn't want to be part of the Wizards long term. Let's be serious now. The 27-year-old looking like he's in his prime, posting numbers of over 21 and 7, solid bucket getter, making just 13 mil on the year, and a player option the next is absolutely disgusting. Guys like Duncan Robinson making more, having way less talent, and doesn't even play. A team like the Hawks, Suns, Bucks, and Lakers should have serious interest, despite we know how Kuz will continue struggling playing with LeBron. His type of personality fits Hollywood and stands out as a role player. Nobody knows what direction the Wizards want to go. His 3-year, $39 million extension in 2020 looking like a bargain for now. Even a team like the Knicks have interest. Kuz also actively expresses his mind, still only relevant basketball-wise because of his tweets. The majority of NBA fans simply not gonna watch Wizards games, only see box scores and stats. Had the Lakers have kept Kuz, KCP, and added Malik Monk, the team would have been way better off than now. Simply wanted to get Westbrook, being scared of the Nets having a big 3 before things exploded. At least being a role player on a title contender absolutely feels better than losing 8 straight games in Washington despite putting up higher numbers. Unless Kuz wants to ride this whole season out and try to average as many points to boost his worth, not a bad way to look at things. Josh Richardson of the San Antonio Spurs, the 29-year-old in season 8, listed out due to personal reasons, excluded from the injury report, should give us hints about San Antonio's plans. A double-digit scorer, between 10 to 17 points a game since his second year, an okay shooter, making 12 mil on the season, a player Dallas already got in the Seth Curry deal, a guy who can also help Portland's wing rotation, could also provide for the Bucks outside shooting so they don't have to depend on the ancient George Hill or Wesley Matthews. Terrence Ross, another guy the Lakers have interest in. The Magic simply don't have any interest in the 31-year-old much longer. Looked like the best player on the team 2 years ago after trading all the bigger names, but just an 8-point scorer now, streaky and not knowing what you'll get. 11.5 mil on the year, diminished numbers. If Orlando asking for a first-round pick, teams simply not gonna do that for Ross, knowing he's worth nothing more than an average player. Teams be out of their minds to sacrifice more than a single second-round pick for an aging role player, reaching J.R. Smith 2018 level territory. But on a good team, the heat-checking moments can come in handy. Kelly Oubre Jr. of the Charlotte Hornets, after having surgery on his left hand, averaging a career best 20.2 points on a bad team, always a name in trade discussions. will be a free agent, making just over $12 million on the year. The Suns shown interest, needing a suitable replacement for the disgruntled Jay who hasn't played a single game Crowder. A low-risk, high-reward situation at this point. The Cavs and Raptors also been circulating as teams that might want him. Would be a role player who'll go off and have his games here and there. No mentions of any players on the Raptors. They still have time to turn their seasons around. Not a terrible team, but guys like Fred VanVleet, very expensive. OG Anunoby's asking price would be nearly unrealistic to agree upon. Potentially, Utah could trade their guys if they keep losing. While the Hornets' Terry Rozier making $21 million on the year, then over 23, 24, and 26 after the season. A high price, nobody's taking Gordon Hayward's contract either. Which one of these role players on my list do you believe will make their impacts felt for the future playoffs? Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.